Are you ready for a new adventure? Time to travel back in time, let's go! Are you ready for a new adventure? Let's learn about the past with Anna and Leo.
Hi friends! Welcome to Unlock This, a podcast from Honest History, where we join our friends Anna, Leo, and Percy on adventures through time and uncover some really cool stories along the way. My name is William. I'm 6 years old, and I love learning about history, especially new stories that I don't hear about in school. I can't wait for today's story, and I think you're gonna love it too. So let's dive in.
Hey Anna, check out these dinosaur bones at the museum.
Wow, what kind of dinosaur is that?
Let's see. The label says it's a brontosaurus. It was a herbivore, which means it only ate plants.
I'm thinking it must have ate a lot of plants. Just look at it. It's enormous.
Do you see its long neck? That neck helped it eat leaves high up in the trees. Can you imagine finding all these bones buried in the ground?
It must have been really exciting.
The label also says the brontosaurus was first described and named by a paleontologist called Othniel Charles Marsh.
That name sounds really familiar to me for some reason.
Oh, Percy, you're here.
You're right, Percy. I remember that story now. That's why the name Marsh sounds so familiar. Percy, is there anything in the vault about it?
About what? What story?
Leo, I know you love dinosaurs, so I think you're going to really enjoy this next adventure. Percy reminded me of something called the Bone Wars.
What were the Bone Wars?
Some people call it the greatest scientific feud in history. In the late 1800s, 2 American paleontologists were on the hunt for dinosaur bones. They had started out as friends, but they soon turned into bitter enemies. For years, they competed with each other to prove who could find the most bones. The famous rivalry between these men is called the Bone Wars.
Who were the paleontologists?
Their names were Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope. They found and named some of the most famous dinosaurs, but they made a lot of mistakes along the way. Percy said he wants to show us something in the vault. Let's go inside and see.
Percy's pointing at that big old chest over there.
Let's go open it.
It's really heavy. I think I need your help, Anna. Okay, on the count of 3, let's both lift up the lid and see if we can get it open. Are you ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow! It's a dinosaur skull, and it's huge. Do you know what kind of dinosaur that is?
I don't know, but check out those teeth.
It looks very fragile. Be careful, Leo.
Hey, look, there's a label on the side of the skull. It says Brachiosaurus.
Do you think that's the name of the dinosaur?
Maybe. Whoa, my head is starting to feel strange again. And you know what that means.
I do. Here we go! We've arrived. And where are we?
Do you see a tree we can stand under? It's really hot out here.
No, but I do see a lot of rocks. And there's some men digging over there. Percy says this is a quarry.
What's a quarry?
It's a place where people dig up rocks and minerals from the earth. Quarries were also used to dig for fossils.
Oh, so this is a dig site. Hey, Anna, There's two men walking towards us. Maybe we should hide behind a pile of rocks over there.
And here is the fossil query, Professor Marsh. They've recently discovered several bones here, which you'll find interesting.
Thank you for showing me this, Professor Cope.
Leo, I think that's Othno Marsh. And that man talking to him? That must be Edward Cope.
The two paleontologists? I thought you said they were enemies. It looks like they're getting along just fine.
Yes, for now. You see, they started out as friends. Cope and Marsh first met each other in Germany while they were both studying natural history in 1863. That was a really exciting time to study natural history.
Why was that?
Because scientists had started to discover more and more mysterious bones buried deep in the ground. They believed that these were the bones of giant lizards that once roamed the earth.
Dinosaur bones!
Yes, but they weren't called dinosaurs at first. The first dinosaur was actually called a megalosaurus, which means giant lizard.
Really? But not all dinosaurs were giant. In fact, there was a type of dinosaur called Compsognathus. They were as small as chickens.
Huh, now that I think about it, chickens kind of do look like little dinosaurs. I mean, just imagine them with a long tail and without any feathers.
It's funny you say that because scientists also think some dinosaurs had feathers too.
Okay, well now I'll never look at a chicken the same way. I didn't think about that, Percy. To you, a chicken is almost as big as a T-Rex.
Anna, I think Professor Marsh is walking over this way. Should we move?
I don't think he can see us. It looks like he's going to talk to the workmen over there.
Excuse me, gentlemen. There are quite a few fossils yet to be discovered from this ground. I will pay you handsomely if you send me any interesting finds you discover.
Did Marsh just bribe the men to give him all the bones they find?
He did. And let's just say Cope won't be too happy when he finds out.
Oh, was this when they stopped being friends?
Not quite, but it was their first big fight. Some historians say that this was the beginning of the Bone Wars.
So what happened after that?
That same year, Cope wanted to show Marsh something that he'd been working on. A doctor had sent Cope a strange fossil in the mail, and Cope spent hours trying to piece it back together. Finally, Cope realized that this fossil was a new type of dinosaur. He called it an Elazomosaurus and published his findings in a journal article.
An Elazomosaurus? That's a huge dinosaur that lived in the ocean, and it had a really long neck.
That's right. Cope was very excited about his findings, but when Marsh looked at Cope's research, he quickly noticed a big mistake. Cope had placed the Elazomosaurus head on the wrong side of the body. He had confused its long neck with its tail. At first, Cope disagreed with Marsh.
I have studied the animal for many months and ought to at least know one end from the other.
But when the other scientists looked at the skeleton, it became clear. Cope had placed the skull on its tail rather than on its neck. Cope was so embarrassed. He tried to buy all the copies of the article so no one would read his mistake.
Well, its neck was really long, so I can see how you'd mistake it for a tail. I don't think Cope should have been embarrassed.
That's a good point, but it still really upset Cope. Marsh believed that this was the moment their friendship ended.
When I informed Professor Cope of the mistake, his wounded vanity received a shock from which it never recovered, and he has since been my bitter enemy.
In the following years, there were going to be a lot more opportunities to find dinosaur bones. The Transcontinental Railroad was being built. And while digging into the ground to lay the railroad tracks, workers often accidentally stumbled upon fossils. This was great news for paleontologists. There was another reason why the railroad was important. For the first time, people could take a train across the entire country. You could travel to the part of the United States where all these fossils were uncovered, the American West. In the 1870s, Marsh and Cope explored states like Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming. A lot of this land was indigenous land, and paleontologists hired native guides to help them. They wouldn't have made as many discoveries without the help of these indigenous people.
Hey, Anna, I'm starting to feel strange. Almost like we're about to travel. Do you think we're going back to the vault?
But we're not nearly at the end of the story. Percy, is that it? Wait, really? Percy says we're going somewhere else.
We can do that?
I guess so.
Hi friends, are you enjoying today's episode? I'd like to take a quick break from the story to tell you about another great place to learn about the past. Honest History creates magazines and books for kids that are filled with fun stories and activities that bring history to life. From pirates to spies to great inventions and so much more, you'll learn about interesting people, places, and events from around the world that made history. Created for kids ages 6 through 12, you can sign up and receive new adventures delivered straight to your doorstep every quarter. Just visit honesthistory.co. That's honesthistory.co to sign up today. Oh, and here's a special offer for our podcast listeners. Use code UNLOCKTHIS for 10% off. Again, that special code is UNLOCKTHIS. Okay, let's get back to the story.
We've arrived somewhere, and we're moving. Are we in a train?
That's what I was thinking. I wonder where the train is taking us.
Look out the window. I don't see any buildings or people, but I see some rocky mountains in the distance.
I wonder if we're traveling through the American West, like Cope and Marsh.
Were Cope and Marsh working together while they look for fossils out here?
Oh no, they were competing with each other. If they heard about a new discovery, both of them would try their hardest to get their hands in the fossil first. But Marsh had a bit of an advantage over Cope. You see, Marsh came from a wealthy family and had a lot of money to spend. Marsh would often pay people to send him fossils they found. He would also pay them to keep the fossils a secret, so Cope would never know. Soon, Marsh was getting boxcars full of fossils.
That doesn't seem like a fair way to do research.
No, and Cope wasn't much better. He came up with his own ways to sabotage Marsh's research.
Whoa, I think the train is coming to a stop. Should we get off?
Yes, and then maybe we can figure out where we are.
There's not too much around us, but I think I hear something. Is that digging?
I hear it too. It's coming from over there, in the direction of those mountains. Let's go!
I think I see something. There's some men working near those rocks. It looks like another dig site. Do you think they're looking for dinosaurs?
Percy said this area is called Como Bluff in Wyoming. You know, Professor Marsh had a big excavation site in Wyoming. That must be what's in front of us right now. Let's get closer.
It looks like the men are packing up. They must be finished for the day.
I think you're right.
Wait, but who's that guy?
Where?
Over there. He's picking up something and putting it in his bag. Wait, is he stealing it from the site? Did he just take some fossils?
Oh, I bet that man works for Professor Cope. Apparently, some of Cope's workers would go to Marsh's site and secretly take bones.
So Cope stole bones from Marsh?
Oh, yes. The two men would stop at nothing. They even began destroying each other's dig sites and ruining the uncollected fossils that were in the ground, all to keep the fossils out of each other's hands.
They were destroying fossils? I thought the whole point was to find fossils.
This area right here, Como Bluffs, became the center of the Bone Wars. Cope and Marsh spied on each other's digs. They stole from each other, and sometimes their workers even threw stones at each other. It wasn't pretty, and all of the other scientists were embarrassed by it. They didn't want people to think that this is how paleontologists acted.
I can't imagine it was good for scientists who wanted to do research the right way.
Sometimes Cope and Marsh tried to put dinosaurs together so quickly that they made careless mistakes. You remember how Cope put the dinosaur head on the wrong part of the body?
I do.
Well, Marsh made a similar mistake years later. You see this dig site in front of us? It's where Marsh found a gigantic dinosaur called a brontosaurus.
Whoa, like the one that we saw in the museum. Did you know scientists have never found a brontosaurus skull?
That's right. When Marsh stumbled upon the brontosaurus bones, he realized it was missing its head. Do you know what he did?
What?
He took the skull of a different dinosaur that he found a couple of miles away and put it on the brontosaurus body.
Wow, they really do keep mixing up their dinosaur heads. So Marsh placed the wrong dinosaur skull on the brontosaurus. Do you remember which dinosaur the skull came from?
I think it was called a brachiosaurus. Is that right, Percy?
Anna, that's what the label on the vault said. The dinosaur skull we found in the chest. That must be the skull of a brachiosaurus.
You're right, Leo. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're about to travel again.
Whoa, we're back in the vault. And look, here's the brachiosaurus skull. You know, the brachiosaurus and the brontosaurus do look similar, but the brachiosaurus is a lot taller.
The brontosaurus is just one of the many discoveries Marsh and Cope made during the Bone Wars. Together, they uncovered hundreds of new dinosaurs. Cope had so many bones in his personal collection, they couldn't even fit inside of his house.
So, how did the Bone Wars end? Did Cope and Marsh ever stop competing with each other?
Sadly, the two paleontologists continued to battle each other until the very end. Neither of them were willing to let their feud go or to work together. As for the Bone Wars, technically Marsh discovered the most number of fossils, so you could say that he won. But both men drastically changed our understanding of dinosaurs. The amount of research they did during such a short period of time is incredible, even to this day.
It's a shame they were never able to work out their disagreement or work together. If I ever find a dinosaur bone, Anna, I promise you'll be the first person I tell.
And if I ever accidentally put a dinosaur skull on the wrong side of its body, I promise we'd still be friends.
Agreed. No dinosaur skulls are ever coming between us.
Of course, Percy. We'd tell you about the dinosaur bones, too. Now, how about we go back into the museum and check out some of those dinosaur bones?
Welcome back. That sure was a great adventure. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna tell all my friends about this amazing story. That's all for now. But if you want to learn more, be sure to check out my favorite magazine for kids, Honest History. There's a ton of stuff to learn in each issue, and I love the fun activities and questions. Bye! This episode was narrated by Nikki and JoAnn Schinderle and written by Heidi Coburn. The production was read by Robot Pirate Media. To learn more about Honest History, visit us at honesthistory.co and follow for updates on social media.